you're awesome. We're all rooting for you. Keep it up. It's awesome to see, a face from Golden High School.
Yul Moldauer isn't the only one. Golden High has 2 alums representing Team USA in Tokyo. From men's gymnastics to the women's team, tonight the bond that gives Suni Lee her best balance and the accident that almost took it away.
We know that she was nervous, and on top of that, she had me to worry about.
How her father has managed to cheer her on, no matter what. Plus, Caleb Dressel is the next big name you'll know from men's swimming. How he finds his rhythm in and out of the pool. It's all next on the Olympic Zone. Our top story this Monday, the U.S. women's gymnastics team stumbling a bit during the qualifying rounds, finishing second behind Russia. Both Simone Biles and Suni Lee qualified for all-around, and we're going to hear more from Suni and her family in a few minutes. Early tomorrow morning, the team will compete in the final round. Of course, they still have a shot at the gold medal. The men's team final is coming up next, NBC prime time, and Colorado's own Yul Moldauer competed early this morning alongside veteran Sam McCulloch. You can watch it and see how it all went down coming up right here on 9 News. We turn to swimming, where Katie Ledecky fell just short of earning gold for the U.S. in the 400 free. A narrow loss, a sensational race. The gold going to Aussie Ariarne Titmus. Ledecky took the silver. Of course, Katie has 4 more races on her schedule, including her signature event, the 1,500-meter free. She set an Olympic record in her qualifying heat, so the gold is certainly within her reach. For the men, swimmer Caleb Dressel did earn gold as part of the 4x100-meter relay team. And then after the medal ceremony, Dressel tossed his gold medal to Brooks Curry, who swam for Dressel in the prelims. Some sportsmanship at its finest. Of course, it may not be his last gold medal. Dressel is vying for 6 of them in Tokyo, and he certainly seems to be pretty confident. He is explosive off the blocks, often the first swimmer to hit the water. Dressel's relentless pace, something few others can match, but he tells us it's what he does out of the pool that helps set his rhythm.
I get bored really easily. So I've had a lot of different hobbies, some of which I've hung on to, some of which I haven't. I mean, I'm not a great drummer by any means, but I have fun doing it, and I'm good enough to where I'm like, okay, that sounds somewhat decent. I remember my dad, when he got me my first kit, I started playing it. He's like, oh, this is the worst mistake we've ever made as a family. A couple months went by, and he goes, you know what? I walked by, and in his head he thought, it's kind of good.
Give me a beat that represents your average training.
This is like a recovery day. Are we chilling? This beat would represent a single practice, long, smooth strokes. Heart rate's probably around 140, 150, something a little mellow. Kind of nice, actually. This would be last lap, all out, everything you got, finishing up a race. That one even kind of tired me out a bit. So yeah, that's an equal representation of what the last lap of 100 feels like. It's called stroke rate in swimming. It's beats per minute on drums. It's the same thing. It's not about how fast your arm's swinging through the water. It's about finding the most efficient way to get from this end of the pool to the other end of the pool. I listen for when my arm hits the water, of boom, 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 boom. And you do find and you feel and you hear that rhythm. And that's where I turn to my senses to really feel out my body in the water and what it's doing. You know, you definitely have to find what your pacing is, your rhythm is, what your beats per minute are. Mine changes every single year with what my goals are, what do I want to accomplish in the sport.
Caleb Dressel is leaving no doubt about it again.
And it's not so much, oh, I got here, now let's go here. You almost want to have them kind of mesh and wean into one another. That's how I like to develop my goals. A lot of things in my life are interconnected. Something that I do on the drums, maybe it'll help me in the water. Something I do in the water, maybe it'll help me in my marriage or for me to be a better son or a dog owner. Everything's interconnected at some point, and it's all about that rhythm. I think that's what sets you up for success.
Dressel adds that his wife, Megan, is also a big source of strength. She's a former college swimmer. The high school sweethearts were married on Valentine's Day weekend this year. Next up for Dressel, he'll be swimming in the 100-meter free. That's coming up at just after 4 a.m. our time. Coming up on the Olympic Zone.
I think what struck me about Lindsay and Yule, both of them, there was this kind of quiet humility about them.
A teacher from Golden High reflecting on what it was like having not one, but 2 Olympians in the classroom way back when. Plus, meet Suni Lee, a breakout star on the American women's gymnastics team who shares a special bond with her dad. How he's motivated her to get back on the mat, no matter what. We know that fans can't go to this Olympiad, but there are plenty of Colorado athletes who are competing in Tokyo, and there's one high school cheering on 2 former students. Matt Renew now showing us that both have a chance to win gold, and both graduated from Golden High School.
It just makes sense that Golden would have strong ties to the Olympics because Golden High School might only have about 1,000 students at this school, but they've got some serious Olympic creds with 2 recent graduates of this high school competing at the Olympics in Tokyo right now.
At Golden High School, when you teach history,
I teach AP Government and U.S. History here at Golden High School.
sometimes history comes through your classroom.
Teaching 21 years, I've never encountered it.
And that's the case for Jay Shackett, who admits he's not really into sports.
I'm not a big sports guy.
But is sure to be watching the Olympics in Tokyo to see 2 of his former students.
But I've never had 2 Olympic athletes, you know,
competing at the Summer Games.
I think what struck me about Lindsay and Yule, both of them, there was this kind of quiet humility about them.
Before she ever played soccer with Team USA and competed at the Olympics in Rio and Tokyo.
This is our opportunity to play for the United States of America and represent our country.
Soccer star Lindsay Horan ran the fields of Golden High.
Lindsay Horan was in my history class her sophomore year, you know, was gone a lot because she was really doing a lot of traveling for soccer at that point.
And just a few years younger.
I actually, you know, I've met her a few times, and you know, she's super nice.
Is Yule Moldauer, gymnast who's in Tokyo helping the U.S. men's team trying to earn its first Olympic medal since 2008.
He was just quiet and unassuming, and occasionally he would give you glimpses of his interest in gymnastics.
And Mr. Shackett says both walked these halls just a few years ago.
Average kids in my history class who had this really interesting piece about them.
Graduating from Golden High on their way to golden medals at the Olympics.
To have two, incredible Olympic athletes come out of this place that I get to be so fortunate to come to every day is cool.
A local historian has written a book on Golden and its ties to the Olympics and says there have been 6 athletes with ties to Golden to go to the Olympics, and he says of those 6, 2 have won medals. We'll see if that improves at these Olympic Games. And on the Olympic beat, I'm Matt Renew, 9 News.
Thank you, Matt. Of course, you can follow along. You can watch Yul compete as part of the men's gymnastics team. That's coming up next at NBC Primetime. As far as Lindsey Horan and the rest of the U.S. women's national team, they face Australia. That kicks off at 2 a.m. tomorrow morning, our time. Coming up on the Olympic Zone.
That was just so hard on me because at this point, I was like, I don't even want to go to championships anymore.
Gymnast Suni Lee is a breakout star in Tokyo, but at times she's wanted to give up. How her dad helped her push past the pain and make both of their dreams come true. One of the must-watch events of any Olympic Games, the women's gymnastics competition. And first-time Olympian Suni Lee is expected to dazzle in her best event, the uneven bars. Cheering at home will be her dad. Father and daughter have a very special bond, but one that was almost broken by a freak accident. Tonight she shares the message from her dad that got her back on the mat and ready to fly high for the Olympic dream that they both share.
My dad was always really the person that would bring me to gym. If I was having a rough practice, and even at competitions, he would give me pep talks, just make me feel better about myself.
I was told, just go out there, have fun.
Suni Lee's father, John, has long been her biggest fan in any crowd.
Suni Lee, the 16-year-old from St. Paul, Minnesota.
But in 2019, at her first U.S. Championships, her biggest competition yet, Suni found herself on her own, for the very first time.
The day before I was leaving for championships, my dad got into a really bad accident.
A friend of mine, they had a branch that they needed to cut down. I thought it was something simple. I went up there and chopped down a tree and I fell.
I saw my dad in the hospital, like right before I was about to leave. And that was just so hard on me because at this point, I was like, I don't even want to go to championships anymore.
Told Sunisa that, you worked so hard for this and just go.
Suni Lee now, and this is her strongest apparatus.
As John headed for surgery, Suni took to the competition floor, her father's familiar, steady guidance echoing in her head.
Just make sure you have fun. He tells me that before every competition.
Take a look at how high she flies on these release moves.
So I was like, okay, I'm not even gonna worry about where I place and how I do. Like, I just wanna go out there, have fun, do it for my dad.
Look at that, beautiful. She is something special.
That was amazing. When they walked up on stage and she was second place. We know that she was nervous. And on top of that, she had me to worry about. So, I don't know. Strong will, I guess. You gonna grab it?
John suffered a spinal cord injury in his fall. But though he can't walk today, he relishes watching his daughter fly.
Go! My dad's been through the whole journey with me, and the Olympics was like our dream.
He was able to go into the arena to see Suni take silver at the U.S. Championships in June. That was the first time since his accident that he's seen Suni compete in person. John Lee's a refugee who fled Laos with his family as a child, and Suni, now the first Hmong American to represent America at the Olympic Games. Coming up on the Olympic Zone, is e-gaming ready to reach the next level?
Esports doesn't need the Olympics per se. The Olympics more needs e-sport.
Why the IOC might want to consider adding another sport to future games. This year's Olympic Games features some new and pretty hip sports like surfing and skateboarding, sport climbing. So what's next? Well, many are wondering if one day soon the Olympic Games could include Olympic gaming. Here's Corey Robinson.
If you want non-stop action,
Winning by daylight!
rabid fans, and mass appeal that's virtually unlimited,
A new champion has been crowned.
then the time may be near for the irresistible force of esports to muscle its way onto the main stage of the Olympic Games.
In 2021, there's going to be 475 million people watching esports.
David Robinson.
Astronomical growth since the days more than 2 decades ago when my dad, David Robinson, and his Olympic teammate, Scottie Pippen, were playing Team USA basketball on Sega Genesis. Esports, or competitive gaming, now brings in more than $1 billion a year. In Japan, gamers just finished the Intel World Open, a nearly 2-month virtual gaming extravaganza held in collaboration with the International Olympic Committee, which this year voted for closer ties with esports.
Pro gamers Gachi-kun and Banchan are stars coming off impressive runs in the Intel event.
Some people don't consider esports to be a real sport.
We are all there to win, and the determination to win is equally as high as any athlete competing in any game.
And with universities now adding esports, new leagues forming, new games arriving, are the Olympics next?
Esports doesn't need the Olympics per se. The Olympics more needs esports. There's a really good reason for the IOC to want to talk to the esports people at the very earliest opportunity.
What would it mean to you to represent Japan at the Olympics?
By being recognized as one of the games played at the Olympics, it will give me justification that everything I did to get here was not a mistake. I'll be ecstatic. If I'm chosen to represent Japan, I'd like to tell the world how good we are.
So how good are these guys? I decided to find out myself.
7 hit, 12 hit. Oh my gosh. I thought I did a valiant effort. I hit them. So that to me was good, but yeah, this is a different league. They're professionals for a reason.
Thanks, Corey. Well, gaming enthusiasts got some good news when the International Olympic Committee held its first ever Olympic licensed event for virtual sports ahead of the Tokyo Games. Baseball, softball, cycling, and rowing part of the virtual series. But the IOC has not shared any plans to make esports an official part of future Olympic competition yet.
Coverage of the Tokyo Olympics is brought to you locally on NBC by Nissan.
Remember when driving was fun? It was an act of freedom, an inspiration. But somewhere along the line, cars just got boring. You deserve a car that thrills you. Like sports cars with 3 pedals, trucks that take you to incredible places, colorful crossovers, and cars loaded with technology. And there's a car company that believes that too. One that has been delivering thrills for over 80 years. This is the new Nissan.
Hi there, Mike Tirico coming up tonight from Tokyo in primetime. Finals of the men's gymnastics team event and the women's triathlon, which features multiple American medal contenders, including Colorado's Summer Rappaport. Plus, another great night of action in the pool, where a pair of Rio Olympic champions are hoping to repeat. Ryan Murphy in the men's 100-meter backstroke and Indiana native Lily King in the women's 100-meter breaststroke. That's all ahead tonight at the Tokyo Olympics on NBC.
Coverage of the Tokyo Olympics is brought to you locally on NBC by Nissan.
Well, it's just about 9 a.m. Tuesday morning as we speak in Tokyo. Today at the Games, we're looking forward to watching the American women's soccer team face off with Australia. It's very early here, a 2 a.m. start in the Rockies. Also medal events in softball, surfing, and of course women's gymnastics. First, though, in prime time, all eyes on the men, including Colorado's own Yoel Moldauer. Later tonight, we're also watching 2 Coloradans representing Team USA in women's volleyball, Jordan Poulter and Haley Washington. And tonight on Next at Night, we'll take you to a watch party with Washington's friends and family in Idaho Springs. Have a great night. Enjoy the Olympics.
Let me just clip it on real quick. Already testing. 1, 2, 3. Okay, let me try to move it up a little bit. It's on backwards, actually. Okay, I'm gonna try this now. Okay, I got it on. Okay, and just walking around here, testing. Hello. Let me just fiddle with this. Yeah, everything looks good. The wire, I'm just messing with the antenna a little bit. Okay, right on. Hey, no problem. I'll take the batteries out and we can